So Ben, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Hey man, good to be here, man. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
So obviously we are post Labor Day is when really most people, I guess, or the sense is that people start paying attention to the election. I think it's probably not the case this cycle, but I think there's still a percentage of people out there who are just about to tune in. There's a whole set of people that I think it's very hard for people like you and me to sort of fully appreciate that just don't pay attention to politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after Labor Day is when they're going to. And it sounds like one of the first things they're going to hear about is Donald Trump calling dead Marines from World War I losers and suckers.
Yeah. Yeah. That should be pretty jarring. I was really hesitant. I'm covering that on my show, and I was like, the story has like a lot of overtones of nationalism and patriotism, and those things are usually wielded against us. But I mean, this is like next level. If you read the story, which I actually did instead of just the headline, sometimes we do that. He actually said that he didn't want to go because not only were they suckers and losers, but he didn't want to mess up his hair, Sam.
That was previously reported, wasn't it? I mean, that was at least not as definitively, but it was out there that the rain was going to mess with his hair. And so they said that they couldn't get a motorcade or something.
Right. He tried to blame it on the motorcade and that the Secret Service wouldn't drive him there and that it was hard. But, he made up a lot of excuses, and it may have been reported, but I did not hear that part about his hair. And just like you kind of described, there are going to be a lot of people who read that sentence for the first time ever and realize we're dealing with a man so obsessed with his ego that he would not only disrespect our troops, which is a phrase that I absolutely hate, but he would do it on behalf of his hair.
Yeah, no, I think that I guess my question is like, who does that resonate with? That is not, and because I want to get onto sort of like the main topic, I think, which I'm starting to see them build up, but this is a pretty like, who does that undermine his support with? I guess. I mean,
he was already losing support with troops, if I'm not mistaken, and with retired veterans. But I think this is kind of like anybody who is teetering on the edge. You can have those people, Sam. There's some people who are never going to betray Donald Trump, right? They're going to go Donald Trump to hell and back again. But I think from a poll I saw from Ipsos and ABC that came out today about his rhetoric on race, on the racial climate and law and order, that message itself isn't even resonating with Republicans the way that he thought it would. Only 13% of college or non-college educated white men think that he's that this is being helpful. So to me, if he's performing that low in that category specifically, there may very well be some people, I don't want to get too optimistic, that are teetering on the edge. So maybe this would be a thing to kick them over, but I have been guilty of being overly optimistic before.
Right. I mean, it's interesting because I think that we got into some of this. I had Stuart Stevens on the other day, which was an interesting experience, but we can talk maybe a little bit more about that a little bit later. But he pointed out, which, I knew, but tend to forget, Donald Trump won the election with less votes than Mitt Romney lost the election in 2012. And so largely the story of Donald Trump's win in 2016 was not about the number of votes that he got. It was about the number of votes that Hillary Clinton did not get.
Yeah.
And that dynamic where you have two disliked candidates going into the election, almost in a race, who is going to edge out for the least disliked of the two of them, it doesn't seem to be in play here.
Right.
And one would think, I mean, it feels like, and obviously this story is not put out by the Biden campaign. I mean, who knows? But that they would be working on driving turnout as opposed to the persuasion, which we saw during the DNC and the RNC. It's really more of like because I'm with you. Like, I feel like Trump's votes are basically locked in.
Yeah.
They're not going to grow, and they're not going to, but they're also not going to shrink much.
Right. No, I think, and here's the other concern, right? When you consider that COVID-19 is now fully politicized and wearing a mask is fully politicized, Donald Trump supporters are going to show up to the polls. No questions. People who are opposing who are going to vote for Joe Biden, it's a good chance most of them won't. They'll probably try to do mail-in ballots because they're taking it seriously. So when you add that on top of everything else that you just said, Sam, I agree. I would think, like, of course, drop this story if you have the story, but put as much energy in getting the vote out as you are dropping a story like this. And we don't know for sure that this was dropped by the Democratic Party,
right.
But if
One
I had
would
it,
hope.
I sure would. Yeah, one would hope they at least have that level.